Welcome to QI and to an evening of levity. Let's see who's got the light stuff. The light fantastic Sue Perkins. Light-footed Josh Widdicombe. The lightly armed Frank Skinner. And the lights on but nobody's home, Alan Davis. So, light up your lamps, and the Latin L, which is, of course, 50 in Roman numerals, if you can tell me what they have in common, all these little buzzer noises. Sue goes. Josh goes. Frank goes. And Alan goes. Any thoughts?
They're all noises made by Jeremy Clarkson during the intimate act.
Yeah. We've kept you two apart whenever we've done a show, for good reasons. Yeah. We've got an owl. He howls like an owl. We squeal like a pig.
It definitely ends.
That's the final hit for the founder.
It's hard not to say that
when
you
Richard Hammond pops out.
Yeah. That's the final rip of Stonewashed Denim, isn't it, that noise?
Would it help if I said it was L for law? Law with a W, not an O-R-E.
No.
Jewish law, which is known as for eating.
For kosher.
Kosher. Yeah. And I said levity was our theme.
Leviticus.
Leviticus.
So shellfish and...
Well, we didn't hear any shellfish.
No, we didn't.
No.
Unless...
An owl,
yeah.
a beard being shaved, the rending of cloth, and a pig.
So they're all things prohibited.
Anything to do with a pig is forbidden.
Yeah.
Brian Blessed, Brian Blessed is not kosher. So that's what they have in common. All your buzzers are forbidden by Jewish law.
That's very awkward, because I'm Jewish,
Also-
so I can't take part in this, but that's for sure.
Also, if I were to go around and say, Josh, and have sex with you, just on the top of my head,
Yeah.
that would also be...
That's not the bit I had an issue
No,
with.
would be an
Kosher sex. I've never heard of kosher sex.
That would be an abomination, according
would
to
indeed.
Leviticus. So, they're all things that are forbidden in the book of Leviticus. You mustn't eat an owl, trim your beard, tear your clothes, or have anything to do with a pig. Sorry.
What does it mean, nothing to do with him? What if he comes up to you just after the phone?
Shun him,
Blanket.
Blanket! Sorry, mate, not interested. Like a jogger in the street. Yeah. Send you on your phone. Sorry.
Now, one of our questions tonight is lightly lavatorial. See if you can flush it out by going for a spend a penny bonus. All you have to do is brandish your baton and buzz your buzzer. And there are lots of points for it. Lots. It's really worth risking that the answer might be something lavatorial. But first, here's a lark. You each have a balloon, as I do. Ooh. And what I want to do is it's a levitation trick. It's all to do with static oceans, as you might have guessed. Well, the idea is to... Oh, that's already... Whoa, that's... Oh, no, that's... Oh, no! Yes! Alan got it. You charge up the plastic and the balloon, but you have to charge both of them. Yes, you can use it. If anybody's hair can do this, it's Alan's.
I take that as a slight challenge.
I know, that's the problem. It sticks to your fingers. You have to just... Oh, and now... Oh, not quite.
No.
Yes, yes! Oh, brilliant! Patrick McGowan in The Prisoner there. Very good.
It's the sort of fatal thing they get in Star Trek when they didn't have any money. Ooh, put some music on it.
Or in
Someone in a red top.
The fact is, yeah, scientifically you should be able to do it repeatably and predictably, but it's quite hard. But I promise you this, I will show you, before this evening is over, a levitation effect that will blow your socks off. Not literally, but will really impress you. That's going to come. Meanwhile, what's the funny thing about lightning?
Oh. The funny thing about it?
Well, given that it is a natural phenomenon that mankind has been aware of for all the time that we've been on the planet...
We're still captivated, freaked out and surprised by it.
And surprised and don't understand it. We can't explain it.
We know a little bit about it. We know that thunderbolt and lightning is very, very frightening. It's white, it's forked.
Yes.
Or sheet. It's electric.
Or sheet, you say. No, not all sheet. Sheet lightning is the same as forked lightning, it's just hidden by a cloud.
Oh, so it's an illuminated cloud that gives that band of...
Exactly,
okay.
exactly. But one of the myths about it is that it will always strike what part of a building?
Highest.
The highest point. And that's not true. We've got a photograph to show you how untrue that is, of it hitting Grant's tomb there. There's a little branch of it hitting the top, but the huge part of the fork there is hitting 2/3 of the way up. Half of lightning goes up from the ground, and about 300 feet up, they meet each other. I know it's weird. Yes. So
lightning goes upwards?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Wrong.
No. 90% of strikes on the Empire State Building, for example, are ascending strikes rather than descending strikes. I know it seems astonishing, but photography allows us to see this phenomenon of it coming up from the ground and meeting with sky forks.
My dad used to, whenever there was lightning, we had to open the knife drawer and put a tea towel over the knives and forks to avoid it coming to the window and striking, and turn the TV off. It's the only time the TV was ever turned off. It's quite a big... Is that not doing it? You'd open the drawer to cover it with a tea towel. No, there's something about the tea towel. You know, tea towels have got that earthing quality.
Did you not have anything else that was metal?
I think that's all we had. Can I say we had no piercings in our...
From lightning to lighthouses. What is the most famous lighthouse in the world?
I don't know. The one on the Needles is very famous.
Needles is quite famous, yeah. I mean, there was one that was one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Oh, which is in Spain, is it not? Or it's like Hercules' Tower or something. There's something Hercules.
Pharos. It's the Alexandrian lighthouse.
I know. I love the way you looked at me so I got it right, whilst telling me that every aspect... I love that. It made me feel good about
You were
myself.
wrestling the puppy knowledge.
Yeah.
Actually, all those lighthouses, the Edison, the Kenilworth, might be known by quite a section of the population, but this one, everyone knows the name of this one. What they probably don't know is that it was originally a lighthouse.
Empire State Building.
Not the Empire State Building.
Statue of Liberty.
Yes, the Statue of Liberty, well done. Absolutely right. There it is. It was visible from 24 miles out to sea. It was a gift to America from the French, yes. And originally, what colour was it?
Orange.
What's
Not red and white like that.
Well, it was always intended to go green, because it's
That's the gayest lighthouse I've ever seen.
You're absolutely right, Alan. It has a thin sheet of copper leaf, as it were, over it.
Originally,
it shone copperly, but like all copper does...
Oxidises.
Yeah, and so you get copper carbonate, and verdigris is the name for it, exactly. You see those domes and things of that green colour that is Lady Liberty. Anyway, the Statue of Liberty used to be a lighthouse, and in those days it was brown, nice and light relief. What's the most interesting thing you can do with a sausage?
Well, she's used hers for a hairpiece. Hold that round.
Lovely. Yeah.
What's the most interesting thing?
It's got to be something to do
With the loo.
with the loo. It's got to be.
Yes. I'm going to give you the points, because there is a way, which is very lavatorial, in which you can improve a sausage, which is quite interesting and very surprising.
Poo in it?
Yes.
Oh,
come on.
Really?
Baby faeces in a sausage will improve a sausage. Now,
Oh, no. I've been throwing them away.
bear with me
You
here.
need to get some casings and eat down, right?
Bear with me here.
Right.
According to a study in the journal Meat Science, MEAT Science, you make sausages healthier by adding bacteria extracted from babies' faeces. Now, the point is, many sausages, pepperoni...
in laboratories, for God's sake.
What they try and do is improve things for us to make us healthy. And pepperoni and salami are made with bacterial fermentation. And the best way you can do that is to use what are known as probiotic bacteria, i.e. bacteria that are said to be good for you. And oddly enough, this Catalonian team decided that one of the best types would be baby faeces, because by definition they would have passed through the human system and passed out again, and because baby faeces are easy to obtain. In fact, the study used nappies provided by mother and baby
Still don't make it
support
right.
groups. Professional tasters confirmed that sausages tasted the same.
Who does that for a living?
I know. They tasted the same, you wouldn't notice.
That's a rough day down the job.
They are lower in both fat and salt,
But
and therefore
it's poo,
healthier.
Stephen. It's literally poo.
It gives a new meaning to potty mouth.
But it does mean that Alan gets his Fender penny bonus. It's very good news. In fact, that was a supplementary question, because the original question involved the use of sausages in history. Sausages such that a country, where we showed you a photograph that shows a country that is really fond of sausages.
Germany.
Yes. It's so useful with the sausages for Germany at a particular time in history that people were banned from eating them, and they were banned in Poland, in Austria, in northern France.
Were they using them as part of the war effort?
Yes, World War I. The Germans had a very impressive weapon which terrorised London.
The Bratwurst Lasso. They get a human head up at 100
The
pieces.
Zeppelin, it's exactly right. The Graf Zeppelin, the Count Zeppelin invented this.
Are you saying that's one enormous sausage?
They flew and they dropped baby excrement over London.
What made it lighter than air?
Helium.
Not helium, no. Hydrogen. That's why they were so dangerous and so combustible, because hydrogen is very combustible. And they would go over London, and the chappie at the bottom there in the little gondola would drop a bomb.
Lovely, the little chappie would go over London.
But the thing is, the hydrogen would easily leak from the patches, and they found that sausage skins would go over the joins, and they would latch onto each other, a bit like Velcro. They would stick to each other, and they'd seal the whole thing so the hydrogen wouldn't leak. Well, now...
Got more bad news for pigs.
It was cattle rather than pigs. It was beef sausages.
So they would just fly like an apocalyptic cow balloon over the top of London and just drop.
Bullets would go through, and there wouldn't be enough to bring it down. And it took 2 years for the British to learn how to use incendiary bullets to cause the hydrogen to blow up.
Were they ever struck by lightning?
Yes, 3 Zeppelins were downed by lightning. Yeah, how about that?
That's brilliant. It shows that God was on our side.
250,000 cows they used per Zeppelin. That's pretty impressive.
So 250,000 cows that they were making on a Zeppelin.
Which is why they had to stop the Germans, the Austrians, the Poles, and those in northern France at the time from getting their sausage.
What a shame they didn't do a big cow's face on the front.
No,
they just don't have those artistic flourishes, the Germans, do they? Everything's very functional.
That was my problem with the Nazis.
Well, there we are. The linings in German airships caused a sausage shortage in World War I. What was the charge for the world's first charity single?
Oh, it's not going to be Band-Aid,
is the clue in charge?
Yes, it certainly is.
The charge of a light brigade.
Well done, you. Absolutely. So
Whoa.
that's the beginning of the puzzle, opened up. So how can the charge of the light brigade have anything to do with the charity single?
You can't really release... They didn't release a single.
Well, not a single. It wasn't called a single in those days.
Tennyson, there are cylinder recordings of Alfred Lord
Indeed.
Tennyson. So maybe he read the charge of the Light Brigade on
He may have
cylinder.
done. His voice. I am Alfred Tennyson. You do hear that, absolutely. He did live into the age of the phonograph, as it was then called. But this is actually slightly more touching in a way. There was actually a bugler who recorded the charge, which is a particular call on the bugle, and he was himself a survivor of the charge of the Light Brigade, and I'll give you all the full details of it. He plays the charge that he blew on the day, on a bugle, was used at Balaclava, which had also previously been used at Waterloo. It's a heck of a historic
That's a pedigree,
bugle.
yeah.
It was recorded as a charity single to raise money for veterans of the charge who had fallen on hard times. And we can
the
play
last
it.
thing they want to hear, though, isn't it?
Oh, well, they didn't listen to it. Oh, my God! You can hear it now. There you are. That was Martin Lanfried, who was a bugler, and he made that recording in 1890, and the Light Brigade was 1854.
Incredible quality.
And the bugle itself is not bad quality, really, is it?
And that's to help all veterans, or just specifically veterans of that particular
specifically veterans
failed...
of the charge, yeah. So, bugler Martin Lanfried lifted the spirits of the Light Brigade at Balaclava. How did Chicago get completely screwed up?
They put Catherine Zeta-Jones in.
You are a naughty girl.
I love that film.
No, I'm joking. Actually, she was really good.
Brilliant, that film.
It's a
I love
cheap
I liked
shot.
it, the sort of Bob Fosse style choreography.
They've ordered it up with screws. Is
Well,
it literally
sort of.
screwed up?
It was literally screwed
Is it
up.
to do
Because
with
it's Windy
Prohibition?
City.
It's always
Not because it's
Prohibition.
windy, no.
Or Barack Obama. It's always Prohibition or Barack Obama.
No, it was before either.
Valentine's Day Massacre.
It
It's
was
always Prohibition or Barack Obama.
Before any of those things.
So before that, so it's what, Victorian?
Literally the founding of Chicago. It was a huge stop-off on Lake...
It's in Michigan.
Lake Michigan. And unfortunately it was built on a swamp. And typhus and typhoid were absolutely ravaging the population. So they decided, with good old American know-how and sort of optimism, they would jack the city up. They would screw it up with screw jacks, as they're called. And there you can see the grey bit all along the bottom. They literally were screwing it up while people were living in it. There was the Tremont Hotel, for example, which was covered a whole acre, which they screwed up. There it is. They screwed it up. And they didn't even close the hotel while it was being lifted up off the ground. And underneath, in the space, the crawl space, you might say, they put sewage and fresh water and so on. And it was a resounding success.
So that wasn't someone who went to bed in that hotel and woke up and went, what the hell has gone on?
And also the river was full of sewage. It flowed into the clean Michigan. And so the ingenious system of locks, they made it reverse in the other direction. And once a year, they dye the river, which goes beautifully like a Venetian canal. They dye it green. Why would they do that?
Paddy's Day.
Indeed, because there are lots of Irish in, they have the bagpipes and so on. And it's a beautiful, beautiful city. I happen to love it. That is actually for real. We haven't done that with Photoshop. That's it.
Really? That's
That is how it looks.
So what dye? What?
Green dye.
The trouble is...
I'm sorry, I can't do better than that. I wish I could help. Something named Meridian or something.
The towns and cities further down the river get St Patrick's Day on the wrong.
Yes, the entire city of Chicago was jacked 10 feet in the air to make room for the plumbing. Now let's lighten the mood with a little light general ignorance. Fingers lightly on your buzzers, please. Name one of the rules in a walking race.
Not allowed to run, are you?
Well, you said you can't run, you should be walking.
Isn't it that some part of your foot has to be in contact with the ground?
Oh, there you are, you see.
Are those shorts strictly legal, though?
There's a little bit of
God, really serious.
Just cover that with your hand.
Oh, dear.
Oh, that's really...
Please make that stop. Oh, dear.
The feet!
God, no!
I feel like we've gone back to the sausage
nearly
round.
gone, it's gone, it's gone.
Look at the feet, don't look at the
That isn't a tip to one of the rules we should know, is it? No pants.
swinging basket.
Keep the junk in the truck.
No, the fact is, I will read you the rule if you want to know it. It's from the International Association of Athletics Federations. Rule book says race walking, as it's called, is a progression of steps so taken that the walker makes contact with the ground so that no visible to the human eye loss of contact occurs. All Olympic walkers, when you slow them down on TV, have moments, a few milliseconds sometimes, when both feet are off the ground, but it's not visible to the human eye. But of course, nowadays you can freeze frame just about anything incredibly accurately. So Olympic Games broadcasters and Olympic judges get absolutely bombarded with calls from people who are furious because they've seen both feet off the ground and they're convinced that must be against the rules, but actually it isn't. Race walking is often seen as a comical event, and someone once described it as like having a competition to see who can whisper the loudest. Now, here's the crew of the International Space Station. Why are they weightless?
Yes. Because they're in zero gravity.
Oh, dear. A common misapprehension.
Yeah.
No, that's not it at all. There's a huge amount of gravity. They're very close to the Earth. The moon is...
Oh, so they weren't in flight at that point?
No, they weren't. They were orbiting the Earth. But they're in free fall, a bit like skydivers. And unfortunately, unlike skydivers, they're also travelling sideways at the same time. If they weren't, they would crash into the Earth. So there's certainly not zero gravity, there's a lot of gravity. The space station and the astronauts in free fall inside it is plummeting towards the Earth, but because of its curvature, the ground is falling away from them at the same speed as they're falling towards it. To put it another way, the space station is constantly falling, but its tremendous horizontal speed means that it always falls over the horizon.
They love karaoke, don't they? They love
But it's not that there's no gravity acting on them. There's a huge amount of gravity acting on the spacecraft, or it would just be lost in space. So you didn't do so well on that, so maybe you'll do better on this. Why does spacecraft get hot on re-entry?
Why do they get friction?
Thank
you. You're welcome.
For that.
Yeah,
it's not
well,
friction,
you came to the right
people...
place if you wanted idiots.
No, you're not idiotic. Most of us would have said friction.
Right.
It's not friction, actually. It's what's called a bow shock. It's the pressure on the air in front of it, like a bow wave of a ship. And the faster you go, the hotter it becomes because of this enormous pressure on the air. And there are other examples of that sort of effect, like a sonic boom, for example, which, when you're going faster, which is also a sort of bow shock.
Everything I know about space is entirely taken from Sandra Bullock's performance in Gravity.
No, you couldn't do better.
Everything I know about space comes from reading the right stuff. And I know that if you get it wrong when you re-enter, you can skip off the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And then you'll just never cut. Yeah, then you'll just never come back.
Then you just keep going.
Yeah.
Well, the fact is spacecraft heat up on re-entry because of the bow shock, not the friction. And finally, who fancies a quantum-locking levitation lark? And to help me tonight, we have Professor Andrew Boothroyd of the Physics Department of Oxford University. Hello, Andrew! So, here we go. It's just going to go over my head, so I'm going to duck. Ta-da! There it is. An exciting tray, and what looks like a bit of sort of scale-electric. And let's just line it up there. Now, we've got a little bucket here. What's in this bucket, Andrew?
That's a bucket of liquid nitrogen.
Liquid nitrogen, which, as you know, is extremely cold. And I'm going to dip a rose into it, just to show how cold it is. I better put these gloves on first.
All right.
Health and safety.
Blumenthal.
And these, all safety, 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 safety.
As long as you're safe, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Here we go. So, I'm going to dip a rose into this. You might have had this... Ooh, bubbles away. It's really cold now. And it might even shatter. Look at that, like glass.
Shall I not touch the bit that's landed on me?
No.
It's burning into your skin.
It shatters like glass.
I've got a little wart on my finger. Is this a chance to burn it off?
You might get a little fire.
And the rest of your hand.
It'd be a great way of dumping someone on Valentine's Day.
So, what have we got here, Andrew?
We've got here a piece of ordinary-looking black ceramic, which, when we cool it down to very low temperatures, acquires a very extraordinary property.
Okay.
So if you just like to cool it down with liquid nitrogen.
I shall baste it with liquid nitrogen. There we are.
And we have a second one over here.
All right.
That one too.
We'll cool that as well.
This is like the beginning of every pop video in the 80s.
Tell me what's particular about it.
It loses all its resistance, its electrical resistance, and becomes what's known as a superconductor.
Ah, yes.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it acquires the property that it can bend magnetic field lines in such a way that it will always try to resist any motion, even if that means hovering above the ground.
All right, so let's just pick it up and pop it. Whoops. There it goes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? And
Literally.
That makes no effect, and you can just give it a tip.
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
strange.
Oh, yeah. And as it warms up, it'll slowly sink.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Is this what you do most days at the Oxford University?
Almost every day.
Not a bad old job.
This one here is very exciting. And now it's nice and slidey.
Oh, wow.
But look at this.
And what's happening there? What's making it...
It's the magnetic field, isn't it? It's interrupted by this superconductivity.
It's not like a normal magnet, because a normal magnet would repel when it's up that way, and then it would just fall off.
Yeah.
So this is both repelling and attracting at the same time.
I'll give it one more little go, and then we can try it on the track.
I thought you were saying that we can try it on Alan.
No! Upside down in a bucket of nitrogen.
There we go. Pop it there.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
Round it goes.
That's good.
That's amazing.
Isn't it good?
It looks like...
it's got a
Can someone
little
pass the
thread, like a
sellotape?
steam
And it's got a steam train, it can go the other way.
Oh.
We could put the wrong type of leaf on the track.
And is this going to get us to Mars? That's the main
Well,
question.
what do you think, Andrew? Are there any practical applications we can think of?
Well, you could use it as a piece of transport like that, but it's quite expensive because of the cost of cooling the nitrogen.
Oh, right, so it's not efficient.
But if we could find a superconductor that worked at room temperature, then it would be viable.
Right.
Are you working on that?
We are, yes, indeed, yes, I am.
I trust you.
I bet they're not. I'm just playing with this all the time. That's what I do.
No, isn't it gorgeous? So you'd think it would almost be like a maglev train, you know, one of
That's
those...
what it would be like.
Oh, there we go again. I love that.
it.
And this, of course, can go on here as well.
Oh, it's...
It's all right. What a pussy.
Everyone, that actually...
Boing.
Oh,
Unfortunately, this one is less insulated and it'll probably get... It's
It's
stopped.
doing pretty well.
Oh, my God, that's coming for me.
cool.
Oh, there you go.
That'd be like the best Christmas present in the world.
So you need... What is the magnet made of? It's rather exciting names. Boron and...
The magnet is made of neodymium, iron, and boron, and that's what the track is made of.
Neodymium.
Neodymium and iron and boron.
Wonderful. Very good
Superconductor
element.
is made of gadolinium, barium, copper, and oxygen.
But you can just use sticky back plastic. Very little bottle.
Okay, Carl.
Well, there you have the miracle that is quantum levitation. Thanks to
Amazing.
Andrew Point. Thank you so much. For once I can say what could be cooler than that. That's all the levity we've got time for, so let's have a look at the scores. It's very exciting. I'm afraid bringing up the rear with minus 14 is Sue Perkins. With minus 7, in third place is Frank Skinner. Well, in a brilliant second is Josh Widdicombe with 5. He's still my pulsing member in first place. With 11 points is Alan Davis. Thanks for watching, and good night from Sue, Frank, Josh, Alan and me. We leave you to ponder upon the last words of the French satirist François Rabelais in 1553. These were his dying words. I have nothing, I owe much, the rest I leave to the poor. Good night.